I'll look at your Instagram.
There you go.
Brennan Fletcher, how's it going, bro?
Good, bro. How are you?
I'm good.
Hell yeah.
So, the reason I wanted to have you on, you're my boy. So we work at the same airport, and I work as a flight instructor, and you were working there as a line guy, right?
Yep.
And this is super cool. So a lot of things you'll read online, and a lot of people in the aviation industry, they're like, get around an airport, like see if you can go work at an FBO or go see if you can work on the line. Just get involved with the aviation thing. So I kind of want to start with that. How many years have you been doing that, and what's it like being a line guy for all these jets?
Yeah, so I started when I was, I want to say 14 or 15, probably 15. I was 6 years there at North American. It was a internship at first, so I did it unpaid just because I wanted to be around aircraft and all that, and I loved it. And like it's like definitely given me so many connections that I never would have had without it. I can't even, like, especially like you build friendships there. Like example, you, Tom, all those guys. It's it's a great atmosphere there. 6 years. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's like probably my most favorite job I've had so far.
And I mean that's super cool because you probably don't spend that much time filling up helicopters besides us, the flight school.
No,
but there's not that many helicopters. But there's so many jets that come in, like big jets. Like I mean, I don't know anything about airplanes, but so when just from the small experience that I've had, we were like pretty busy this summer, like jets lined up all the taxiways, and you guys are just like on the radios, like fuel this jet up, get some fuel in it. You guys are like slammed. But do these rich guys tip you good?
It really depends. You obviously have people in any business. You have people who like are constant. They always come in and they tip you well. You remember Kilo Tango, right?
Yeah,
he's on the solid hundreds every time. Like those are actually great. It kind of depends on who it is. Like if they were born and like with nothing and like worked for everything they had, they understand what position you're in and they tend to tip very well. It's people that were kind of brought into the richer side that can be kind of rude. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What's a common tip on like on a line service? What do you do? You like taxi them and then fuel them? What is that?
Park, fuel, customer service. It's like customer service for anybody who flies in. It's all it is.
And how much do they give you? Like what's a good tip?
An average tip? NetJets pilots are great. Part of the reason I like their company so much is they're given tip money, so it's pretty much almost every time it's like a guaranteed $5.
Really?
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're really good. They give their pilots money to make sure they're tip line guys, and
that's cool. And that's NetJets.
Yeah, NetJets.
That's awesome.
Great company. Usually, I mean, it depends on who's on board. It really depends on who they're flying. I would say $20 is a normal tip.
It's kind of sick.
It adds up fast.
Yeah,
you make a lot of money doing it.
And I mean, just like as a helicopter pilot, just as an instructor there, I mean, on like any given like Thursday or Friday in the heat of summer. Dude, we got jets lined up. Like it's hard to get any flight work done. So
especially for you guys.
Yeah,
you can't even get out.
And so the airport that we work at, like, I mean, I just remember a couple of weekends this summer. Like, so not only do you have the flight school going hard because like all of our helicopters are flying, the weather's nice, it's warm, doors off, it's sick flying. And then we've got gliders here. So we've got the aircraft that tows the gliders up. So we've got 2 or 3 gliders up at any given time. Then you've got all the general aviation traffic. Which is like just like the planes and guys that want to come in.
Such a mess.
And then the jets. It's like a shit show.
It's such a mess. I remember last summer there was probably, I would say, at least 3 to 4 go rounds that I saw just in my time working. And it's like, I mean, jets are on final and glider goes 1-4 and lands and without a radio, and there you go. Like
that's the thing.
Crazy.
Gliders, well, not just gliders, but people just cut each other off in the pattern.
It's like, and some people are just so like blatantly rude about it, like don't even care about any announcing and just come right in. It's like these people, like jets they go around. That's money wasted. Like that's
like
money,
thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
They just spent going around.
Yeah.
So you spent what'd you say, 5 or 6 years working on the line?
6 years. Yeah.
Okay. And so that gave you like a really up close experience with the airplanes, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And okay. So how did you start getting into aviation and learning to fly and wanting to do that?
So really, I actually used to hate flying. As funny as it is. So I think it was my 8th grade. It was 8th grade year. We usually go on like a summer vacation to Florida to visit family. And my mom was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to fly," and I like refused, like so much anxiety about it.
Like
I did not,
commercial?
yeah, like even on a jet, and it's so stupid thinking about it, but I like had this like thought that maybe the floor would just collapse and we all die.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
nice.
and I was really like I believed it. And like basically she gave me like sleeping medication, and I just kind of fell asleep on takeoff, and like got up to cruise. I thought it was the coolest thing. Like I was obsessed with it after that. Like on the vacation, I looked up like videos of like small general aviation flying pilots. And like I don't think I stopped watching videos every day after that. And came back. You ever heard of Argyle Flight School?
No.
It used to be out of Saratoga.
Okay.
And when I like first started to train, they were kind of like departing the area, like not really at Saratoga anymore. So I struggled to find somebody around the area to do it. Dale
Uh,
Easter,
no.
cowboy.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was my first instructor ever. I was 15. I was so small I had to sit on a pillow in the seat, and I couldn't see over the top. And he was my first instructor. I did like I would say 8 hours with him. Really just I mean I got up to like slow flight stalls, basic steep turns, stuff like that. And then I kind of stopped for a bit doing that with school and sports. All that adds up, and I couldn't really take it seriously as I wanted to. Plus, I was also paying like out of pocket, so it wasn't like you have a loan and you can just fly whenever you want. Took I would say a year break. Started at Richmore. I did another like 5 flights there, and then
And Richmore Aviation, that's a flight school?
yeah, the flight school at Schenectady, Kingston, and Columbia County, all upstate New York, ish. I started there for I would say 6 months. Again, I probably did 5 to 6 more hours, and same thing. Like, just with school and everything, didn't have the time to really commit myself to it how I should be. And with the amount of flying, I was flying once every 2 to 3 weeks. It's not, like it's not
Yeah.
enough to keep up with training. So I stopped again, and then I was like, you know what, like after high school, I'm going to go to Schenectady. I'm going to restart training and just really take it seriously and grind it all out. And that's how it happened. Like within 2 years, I would say of actually consistently flying, I'm almost done with CFI. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it, man. Yeah.
So prior to that one time that you were on the commercial flight,
Yeah.
did you know you wanted to be a pilot, or was that flight where it's like it started to grow from there?
You mean like after the flight that I want to be a pilot after?
Yeah. So when you flew commercially and your mom gave you drugs or whatever?
No, I would never like. I actually would rather have driven. Like I was like, we're driving, I'm not flying.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, just go on the plane. You're being, you know what I mean. And so after that flight, I was like, I didn't really know enough about it like that I actually could make that a career yet. And when I started like looking, I was like, oh, these people are doing this like left and right. You just had to find like. I found like the area and community of people that do this, and I just thought I was obsessed with it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. Like it's not like a common thing. That was like what it was for me, is like you can actually separate yourself, and like I had a passion for it. So that's it.
Now, let me ask you this, because you're on the Chopper Talk podcast.
Yeah.
What was did you have any understanding or awareness of helicopters during that time period, or was it always just airplanes?
I always like I was around Saratoga Airport my whole life, so I've obviously seen the helicopters. It was never I had a close friend in high school who trained with independent for a while. The interest wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
It was I have nothing against helicopters, just that's the route I took.
Now,
that's pretty much it.
So now looking at it where you're at, like actually doing it, any desire?
Not unless the prices go down.
So
So
it's cost restricted for you.
Yeah, and for me, what I want to do in my career, like obviously, I mean, long term, as far as like how far you can travel and the things you do in airplanes, there's obviously some differences with helicopters. I like to like travel the country and, see places like that are far, far away that airplanes go to.
Now, let me ask you this, because of that, one of the things that like actually drew me to helicopters is like, I want to be like a family man. I want to have a family and kids, and I want to watch them grow up. And one of the girls I had a crush on in elementary school, like shout out Jamie, her dad was an airplane pilot for whatever, one of the big airlines. And she was always talking about like how he was gone for like these big events, like birthdays and holidays and stuff. So have you considered that? Like, what is your perception of like the airline pilots that are gone traveling, but they're gone traveling?
Yeah. So originally, what I wanted to do, I was set on it since 8th, 9th grade. I wanted to fly the 777 for FedEx. fly the 14-hour flights across the world, like Honolulu to Memphis, doing overnight, do the same thing.
That's a crazy
It's
flight.
crazy. Yeah.
Honolulu to
Yeah, you
Memphis.
got two crews on board. Yeah, it's like 14 to 16
Wait, hold
hour
on.
flights.
Two crews. Yeah, talk to me about this.
So they had to swap out, obviously. Like you can't be flying 14 hours straight. So I don't know what the regulations are, but I know they fly with two crews and they swap out like half the flight. Next crew swaps in. Just
And they got beds on there, huh?
yeah, and they sleep. Exactly.
Damn.
And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And in eighth, ninth grade, I'm not thinking about family. I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff. I just thought that'd be the coolest job. Like I get to go to Japan, like back to Memphis in one day. Like, and then obviously you grow up and you start to realize like, it's not really, you're gone almost the entire month. And I know one person who does it and not really home a lot, doesn't really have a family life, which was his choice. But that really wasn't for me. I was interested in aviation, but not have a life outside of it as well. Obviously, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why like I would probably stay away from that side and maybe something that's like, I know there's a lot of jobs that do like week on, week off, 2 weeks, 2 weeks off, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a little bit more better, and definitely as you gain seniority, you've got more ability to choose your routes, choose your time away.
Yeah.
The cool thing about those jobs in comparison to helicopters is some of those captains make a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
Have you done research about it? Like, do you know some numbers?
I'm actually when I was in Rich Moore's ground school for my private, she had pilots every once in a while come in and kind of share their story to kind of get kids to see if maybe this is their path for them. This one, he was a retired captain for Delta on the 767, I believe. He retired making 450 grand a year, and that was when he was flying. Every year now he's not, even though he's not flying, he's still making 400 grand every year.
What?
In retirement money.
Whoa. Like why? Like as like a pension or something?
That's like that was what his, I don't know what it was.
His contract or whatever.
His contract, I guess. So he was making 450 a year, and now he's making for the rest of his
Dude,
retirement.
that's an insane amount of money.
But he was with them. I want to say, I'm not going to quote myself on this, but I want to say he was there since he was like low 20s, all the way up until literally it's like 65, like until he couldn't fly anymore. So he did his time, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He worked for it. Like I respect. It's still an insane amount of money, though. I can't imagine.
I mean, that's like the high end of like doctor specialties, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, and I mean, okay, now this is getting like speculative, but that shit doesn't seem too hard. Like flying a so I'm an instrument rated pilot and they do a lot of instrument. And yes, it's a lot of risk carrying that many people on board.
Yeah.
But is it that hard? What do you think about that?
So I don't have an experience, but based off of what I've seen, like I watch videos and I see these, it's a lot of automation. However, it's from what I understand, what I've seen, it's a lot of what happens if the automation fails. Like, because I mean, I know new aircraft that have auto land and features like that. I don't even know the specifics, but it's what happens when those fail, and do you have the skill to still operate it if everything goes wrong? Because you're monitoring an insane amount of avionics and autopilot systems. I came in so many systems, millions of parts on a plane. So I think it's more so understanding like the hazards and the safety that are involved with that many people on such a large aircraft. I think that everything comes together in one big picture, I think, and that's why you get paid so much. Yeah, and the time. I mean, like 14-hour flights. Like, I mean, he wasn't doing that, but I would upper 5-6 hours on the 767. So that's probably why.
Yeah, and it's like you have to be. Well, it's like he's spent a lot of time doing it, and then if something goes wrong, you got to be good, and that's like a lot of people's lives in your hands. So, like, I get it, but there's just part of my brain that makes it like you're sitting there watching screens. I know it's hard, but
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's like
I know what you do flying wise, and I totally get it.
It's hard. So talk to me about your private. What was it like? So you kind of did it intermittently at Saratoga, and then when you actually decided to commit to it, what was it like getting a private pilot's airplane license?
So kind of going back to what I said before, how I started with Richmore and then I stopped after about 6 months. I got to lesson 5 or 6. It was going good. I was so scared of stalls. I don't know if you are familiar with a stall is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I guess you compare it's like the auto rotation of helicopters. I I had this like vision that like, oh, the aircraft's stalling, we're falling out of the sky, and I hated everything about it. So I literally like I scared myself away from it, and I stopped scheduling lessons, and I was like, I'll deal with this at a later time, like repression basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and then so when I came back, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna conquer this. Like this is what I want to do, even if I have to suck it up for a few flights. Like I'll get over it. And obviously now it's no big deal. Like you get through it, but that was like the biggest obstacle for me. I realized like I got over that. I was like nothing else. Like it's still a challenge, but that was like my biggest like fear with the private. Everything else, like I enjoyed the cross country training. All the other maneuvers I was fine with. Landings. It was good. I enjoyed private. It was good.
So talk to me more about this stall. Like I want to know about, because I mean I can talk to you about an auto rotation, but tell me about what a stall. How do you set it up? How do you practice it? How high are you? What's the recovery?
So there's two different types. So there's power on and power off. Those are like the main two. Power off. So that's what I was particularly scared of. It was so you're basically simulating you're coming to land. You're at a low airspeed. You're in a landing configuration. So you have full flaps. Your power is low. Your carb heat's on. And basically you're coming down, and at a certain point when you're descending, you simulate that you flare too early on landing, and you are too low in airspeed, and you exceed what's called critical angle attack, and you stall. And so the nose will drop, and you'll lose some altitude. And it was learning to kind of, there's a sensation you get lifted up in your seat a little bit, and that's what I didn't like. So I was learning to kind of deal with that and know the procedure to climb back out, do a go around. And that was really it.
Dude, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you see that video of the stall at Old Bridge?
Is that around here?
No, Old Bridge, New Jersey.
When? Recently?
It was like a couple months ago.
Airplane? Oh,
dude, let me show you this video. I'll pull it up on.
Never seen it.
I'll put it in the podcast, and this is, dude, insane video.
Was it a small airplane?
Yeah, Cessna. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the channel called Vasa Aviation. They've got really great stuff here. But so there's this plane coming in on final, and it's a student pilot, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, student pilot. So, yeah. So he bounces. I don't know if this is the same guy. Yeah, he bounces, goes up really slow.
Oh no, yeah. Stalls it.
And stalls it right there.
Yep.
And it just pitches over. It's just a classic stall. Oh, so he must have done like a slam and go or something. Is that what they're called?
Yeah. So it's like porpoising or bouncing. It's what it's called. Yeah.
Comes down, hits, and then it looks like he's trying to go for a go around and pulls back.
Yeah. He was a student, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
student pilot. Right. So coming down right here, slams, hits, bounces. Look, bounce right there. He's trying to figure out what to do. And so he pulls back.
I know 100% what he's thinking.
And then he just right there and falls out of the sky. So, no, he survived. He was all good. I think the plane caught on fire or something. But yeah, crazy, right?
So I think what happened, and based off what I saw, I think what happened. So you bounced it. It wasn't even an aggressive bounce. Like I've been in a plane that's done way worse than that.
Yeah.
All you got to do in that scenario is like, he's probably power off. You add a little bit of power and just let it kind of glide, stay in ground effect, and then come back down and settle again. It wasn't too bad, but I think what he thought was, he probably was like, oh, go around. And then he just probably pitched up way too fast, didn't apply full power quick enough, and then he probably just stalled it right there.
Yeah.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's what I think happened. But
so with that stall, sorry, I don't know if I cut you off, but with that power off stall,
yep.
How do you set it up? How do you practice it? And how do you recover?
So just in the practice area, you go up to like cruise, like 3,000 feet. You want to configure the airplane for landing because that's what you're simulating. So you'd pull carb heat, power back, like 1,700 RPM. And once you're in the white arc and the airspeed, you introduce flaps, increments of 10 all the way down to 30. And then you're establishing a descent because obviously you're simulating a landing that you're on final. So you establish a descent for about 100 feet or so. And then once you do that, you pull back, you're maintaining your heading, and you just pull the power idle and just pitch the nose up slightly. So it's the angle of attack's high enough to the point where you're not going to be able to maintain flight. And then the stall warning horn will come on. And then once you get the stall, that nose will drop. And when it drops and you feel that break of the stall, then you recover, which would be like the go around procedure. So then you go full power, carb heat, bring that nose up, get a positive rate of climb. And then you slowly reduce those flaps that we can get higher airspeed.
But the first thing you want to do is pitch, right? Pitch for airspeed.
Yeah, because think about if you're simulating a landing, with a power off stall, you don't want to keep going toward the ground. So you want to stop that descent and you want to get full power, bring that nose up because you're simulating as if you were on short final.
But if you're stalling, you're pulling back, decreasing your airspeed, like in a landing configuration.
Yep.
Then your stall warning horn goes off, and like you do enter that stall, you feel that nose drop. Do you push forward on the yoke?
When? After it stalls or before?
After it stalls.
After it stalls, so the nose is going to want to fall because the plane's breaking the stall. It will recover itself if you're coordinated.
I see.
Yeah. So what you do is you let it fall, but at the same time, if you just keep letting it go and you push forward, that's when like you're going to lose a good amount of altitude.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that.
Right.
So I mean, he probably had full power and just pitched up way too high, and it's one of the things where too low to the ground to recover. So
besides, now talk to me about this. I've seen all these YouTube videos about these like full-fledged spin stalls or spins.
Spins.
Is that different than a stall?
So it's just an aggravated assault. It's a aggravated stall, which just results in auto rotation. That's all it is. So it's basically it's a stall. You're uncoordinated, and the result of that is you end up one wing is more stalled than the other. It's kind of hard to do without like a model airplane, but one wing is more stalled than the other, causing that rotation downwards.
Okay.
And it'll stay in that attitude unless you have a corrective action, which is why you have like the spin recovery procedure.
Which is what?
So it would be if you don't have power idle already, power idle, ailerons neutral, and then you're just gonna let that other pressure kind of release a little bit, let the airflow come back over the wings, and then you'll just climb out of it. And the opposite rudder of the way it's
so if you're spinning right, left rudder?
Yes. Yep. So opposite rudder of the spin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So opposite, and then so the video I saw, they were like spinning to the left or something. Have you seen the crazy one where they're like
I've seen so many of them. Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure I've seen it, yeah.
But they're like spinning really crazy. So they put the hands on their dash,
yep,
and then opposite rudder, and then like let it build and then pull aft.
Yeah. So as soon as you go into the spin, power idle immediately, because if you're going straight down, you're going down at like 3,000 feet a minute. You obviously don't want the airspeed to get up too high to where it could cause damage. So power idle, and then immediately opposite rudder of the turn or the spin, and then ailerons neutral, and just let the nose come down, regain airflow, and then climb out of it.
Dude, did you see this video 3 weeks ago about that Air China crash?
Was that the DHL plane?
Maybe it was.
It was yellow.
Yeah.
I just saw it yesterday,
and it dropped out of the sky.
I don't know what happened, but I just saw the landing video. I saw like it twisted and then
no. So, that's a good one. That one was on the video, but no, dude, there's this here. Tyler, let me pull this up too. This video is insane.
So I haven't seen these. Unless is it the DHL one you're talking about?
No, the DHL one where it like slid off the runway.
Yeah, and then like the whole back end by the tail just cracked in half.
Yeah. The airplane split in half.
People are calling that banana split.
Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, people like banana split.
Air China crash. I think it was Air China. Video shows. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, this video is insane. Oh, look, our friends.
I might have seen it.
So,
wait, was that a jet?
Dude, this is like
no way.
This is like a 7.
No way.
Dude, it nosedived. 132 people dead.
How long ago was this?
Smoke from the plane wreckage could be seen billowing above mountains in the South China or whatever. China Eastern flight was carrying at least 132 passengers when it crashed in the something province. Flight records indicate that a 6-year-old plane made a near vertical nosedive before impact.
That's straight
Dude,
down.
It was nosediving.
Do you know what happened, or did they announce what happened?
No, but some of the speculation I've seen is that it was like a hydraulic mechanical failure.
Okay.
Because let me see if I can see. I wonder what type of plane it was. It was it's one of these Boeing. I don't want to say the wrong name, but it was either Boeing or Airbus, one of the big ones.
One of them, yeah.
And what is the Max 8? Who makes that?
Boeing. Yeah, Boeing 737 Max.
737 Max 8. Dude, I think it was one of those, and they keep having this reoccurring problem. Yeah, and there was one like 2 weeks ago where they nosedived twice, but the pilots were able to get it back.
Yep.
But they dropped like 3,000 feet in like a second.
So there's a documentary on. I don't know if you've seen it. It's with the 737, and I don't want to quote what the exact part or issue was on this. I watched it, and it's like something in the horizontal stabilizer. I want to say something in the rearwards of the plane where if it's a condition that Boeing knew about and they didn't correct it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to save money for pilot training.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know how many crashes there were. Way too many.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically pilots knew they're flying something that has an issue, and it wasn't really being resolved until it was too late. Obviously,
that's one of the craziest things ever. That like Boeing is just maximizing profits, and I think it's Boeing, right?
Boeing. Yep.
That was the one, at least in the documentary.
Yeah. Well, the 737 Max is a Boeing aircraft.
Okay.
So all of it's Boeing.
Yeah.
None of it is.
So that's crazy that they would allow that to happen.
Yep.
That just to maximize profits over that.
Especially like, I mean, you would expect this, and I'm sure there was issues like in the 1900s, like when aviation was still somewhat new, but now it's like safety is such a priority with everything. Like everything is around safety, and like you would think that this stuff wouldn't happen like within these last few years, and still, that's like one of the worst ever.
Yeah,
that's
that's got to be like, I don't get how they get away with it. So you did your private, and then talk to me about commercial. What was that like?
Commercial was more so for Richmore, it goes, you do your private, then you get your instrument, and then you get your commercial after that. So it was fun because for all of instrument, obviously you're wearing a hood. So I hadn't been able to look outside and enjoy flying in a long time. So you start off stage, it's built up in 3 stages, 4, 5, 6.
Is it a 141 program?
141. Yep.
Okay.
So stage 4 is all cross country time. So it's the longest stage. You're basically flying. Everything's across country. There's some requirements as far as like how many nautical miles away you have to be for some of them. It was so much fun. Like my roommates we would all like rent out our own 152, and we'd all fly to the same airport for cross country. And then fly back. It was some of the most fun flying I've ever done to this day. That just meet up, get out, not even like do anything, like just get out and talk for a minute, and then get in the airplane, go to the next airport. It was so much fun. Wow. I really enjoyed stage 4. Just it's basically time building. You just do cross countries, get to see different areas you've never been to. Stage 5 was you get your complex endorsement. So they have a 172 RG. You do your training. It's like, I don't know how many hours I think it is. It's like 12 hours you get your complex endorsement.
What is complex?
So it's a retractable landing gear and a constant speed prop.
Versus what?
Versus the regular aircraft, like 152s have like fixed props and just fixed tricycle landing gears that don't retract.
Right.
So you learn the systems on that, provided you show that you have the ground knowledge and you fly right and you pass the stage 5 check, then you get your complex. And then stage 6 is like checkride prep. So that's all the commercial maneuvers, learn the regs and all that.
What's the benefit to the variable pitch prop? What does that do?
You're basically with the prop. The prop's an airfoil, obviously. Yeah. So you're changing the bite angle with the constant speed prop. So you're basically getting more efficiency. You can save on fuel. And you basically adjust it for different times of flight, or different phases. Like
that's for the variable pitch prop, right?
It's called constant speed prop. But yeah, it changes pitch. Yeah.
Okay. Constant speed, but variable pitch.
Yeah. So you can change the pitch of it with a constant speed prop.
And how do you adjust the pitch of it?
It's a little blue knob. It looks like I don't know what the mixture looks like in a helicopter. Yeah. It's a red knob. The prop is a blue knob. So it's right next to it. You got throttle, mixture, and then your prop. And you basically just twist out like you would the mixture, same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, and here's the thing, like with the Robinson platform, we never lean our fuel.
Wait, seriously?
You
don't lean?
No
way.
Yeah, dude, we're only full rich always.
Are you serious?
Constantly. Like I've never leaned my mixture once.
What's your gallons per hour?
We average 9 to 11 ish.
That's actually like pretty high. Like for how
it's
small
super high.
That's actually like bad.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, it's bad.
It is bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
9 gallons an hour.
Yeah. Wow. What do you guys average? Because you're
even not like even if we go out when you're doing maneuvers, you're always mixture rich. Just because like there's no need to lean if you're just going out and you're constantly adjusting throttle and stuff like that. So even 6 gallons per hour, like mixture rich for an hour flight time, that's only 6 gallons. So.
What training did you do your private and commercial and mostly?
Aircraft?
Yeah.
All 152.
Okay.
I was light enough to do the 152. I could have done the 172, but you save a lot of money. So
the 152, what engine do you have in that?
It's a Lycoming 108 horsepower 4-cylinder engine.
Do you know the name of it?
It's a Lycoming 0235.
Oh, the 235.
Yeah. What do you have in yours?
We have an 0320.
Okay. What's the difference?
Or an 0360 J2A. I think it's just cylinder size.
You still have 108 horse?
No, we've got so the Beta 2 has 180 derated to 160, like 124 and 131.
Oh, that's higher than I thought. Okay.
So yeah, a little bit more, but yeah, we average about. The thing is, we don't have a set fuel burn rate.
Yep.
I don't think there's not a published fuel burn rate. So do you have a published fuel burn rate?
Is that, I actually never heard that term. Is that just what like you're expected to burn?
Yeah, much? So like 9 gallons per hour.
6 gallons per hour.
But is that published?
I believe so. I've always been told like if you're going out, it's usually 6 gallons per hour.
Yeah, so that's like all the hearsay stuff is.
Yep.
Like ours is 9 gallons per hour. How much fuel can you carry in a 152?
24 and a half usable, 26 total. So
okay, so what you get like just shy of 3 hours?
4 hours is the rule of thumb.
Oh, you know what? Because you get more flight time. Yeah. Because you're burning less per hour.
Exactly. What's yours?
So we have 16.9 plus 9.4. It's like 25-ish. Something. I'm
25 total.
Yeah. So let's say it's like 26.3 or something.
Okay.
26.3 divided by 9 gives you just shy of 3 hours.
3 hours. Okay, cool.
So, but that's interesting. But so you do all of your training in. Well, so and what's the procedure for how you lean a mixture? Like I have no clue.
So I just realized you don't lean at all.
Never.
So in some aircraft have EGTs. So that's measuring obviously your cylinder temperatures. So we don't have.
What's EGT stand?
Exhaust gas temperature.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. So what happens is you twist it out. And basically it just goes out nice and slow. And you're looking in our aircraft, you look at the RPM. And it'll slowly rise. And when as soon as it starts to like, it'll kind of like buff it a little bit and then start to go down. You twist in like 2-3 times. That's like your lean of peak. So that you'd be giving obviously the engine the least amount of gas per air ratio.
Yeah.
So that's how you lean it. You just look for that peak. As soon as it starts to drop a little bit, just give it 3 twists in. And that's pretty much, it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's such a different. I mean,
I really did not know that helicopter pilots don't. At least you don't.
Yeah.
Rich mixture.
No. There's not a helicopter that. I don't think there's not a helicopter that I know of where you lean it.
That's
you just fly full rich.
Yeah,
and that's probably why we a lot of helicopters and a lot of Robinson helicopters, just from what I know, they get like a lot of carbon buildup in the cylinders.
Oh yeah.
Just because we're just flying with like full fuel.
Got full fouled spark plugs.
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely do.
Exactly.
We have the same issues though. Like mechanics at Richmore, they always give us a bunch of it.
Yeah.
You guys gotta be leaning your mixture on taxi and all that. So
do you lean it on taxi?
I honestly, throughout all my training up until I started, even midway through my CFI, like I didn't think it was a big deal. And my instructor, who's actually the chief over at Richmore, he really emphasized like make sure you're leaning this. Like it's good for the engine, it's good for the spark plug. So I was like, all right, like it's not hard, just pull it 3 or 4 times outwards, and you can save the spark plugs. It's better running engine, so
yeah,
why not?
So the complex rating is that variable pitch. Is it significant? Does it make a big difference?
Yes. It's also so that's the 172 RG, so it's significantly bigger than the 152. It has you can carry much more load, more fuel. It's got a 180 horsepower engine in it. So that combined with the retractable landing gear and the prop, it's a totally different airplane.
Really?
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, because all the drag you decrease by not having the landing gear down. You'd be surprised. Like I did across country with no winds aloft, and we were going like 145 across the ground.
So your V-knee just shoots up.
Oh yeah, it's like I want to say it's like 164.
Wow,
or something like that.
Wow,
it's up there. Yeah,
our V&E is 102. In a Robinson R22.
It's not even our maneuvering speed.
Really?
Yeah, 104.
104 is your maneuvering speed?
At max goes weight in the 152.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean that's one of the pros of just having it like an airplane is just you can just go way further.
It's a little different.
What's the highest you've been flying?
It like me flying?
Yeah.
9.5.
Dude.
9.5. I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it.
Yeah, I don't.
I remember, what was it? You don't even like one of the 3000, right?
Yeah. like I think the highest I've been in a helicopter is like 6,000 to 7,000 feet, which is fucked up in a helicopter. But yeah, like anything.
What are you doing up there?
There's times where it makes sense, and just to show the student.
Okay.
That's a terrible reason, honestly.
To show the student.
Yeah, just this is what 6,000 feet feels like. But it's very rare. Even 4,000 feet, it's like makes me uncomfortable. But 9.5, what type of plane were you in?
172. It was my instrument long cross country.
Okay. And why were you up there?
We only planned for 7.5, but we were in constant IMC, and we were kind of getting some ice. So we just asked ADC if we could climb 2,000 feet more, and we were out of it and on top. So that's the only reason.
Dude, so you have your instrument rating, right?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yep.
What was your experience like getting your instrument, and what's it like actually being in the clouds? Because I've never been.
You never been in clouds?
Nah, dude. I'm a CFII.
And you've never been in clouds?
No, because our Robinson helicopters are IFR capable, but not IFR rated.
Okay.
So we've got all the instruments. I can do all the maneuvers, holds, approaches, whatever, and we're in the hood. But we don't have. Don't you have? This will make me sound really stupid as a CFII, but I think you have to, in a helicopter, you have to have a stability augmentation system, like kind of like an autopilot type system. Also, you need an anti-ice system. You need pitot heat, and we don't have any of that. So we cannot fly in the clouds legally.
Understood, yeah.
So, which is crazy. Like I've got like almost 1,000 hours as a CFII, never been in the clouds. So talk to me about what IFR was like and what it's actually like being in the clouds.
So first thing I'll say is instrument rating was, or at least like beginning the training and going through it, definitely very humbling. Obviously, like I'm sure a lot of people, you might be able to relate this too, is you get out of private and you're like, oh, I'm a rated pilot, like I can do anything.
I'm a pilot.
You think you're on top of the world, you think you know everything. It's just completely untrue. I know, like I remember the first couple of flights, even the first stage is you basically do basic maneuvers under the hood, and I was all over it. It was embarrassing. Like I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy. Granted, you have to switch to 172, so it was kind of a learning curve. But it was very humbling at first. I didn't have the best experience instructor wise, for many reasons. I could dive in and like really deep that. Just not a great learning environment at all. Which is part of the reason I'm so motivated to be a good CFI, is because I've been through the worst with like just how bad instructors can get. So kind of doing the opposite of that is kind of my goal now. I've been through the whole thing with you. It's
like you date a girl that's terrible, so you're like, I'm gonna go date the exact opposite.
Yeah, I'm gonna never go back to that again.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, man.
But so it humbled you. Keep going on that.
Yeah. So really, like you learn, like there's so many regulations. Everything in instrument is so precise, like being right on the glide slope, right on the localizer. Really learning how to do a hold. That was hold entries. Hold entries. Oh god, like yeah. I enjoy it now. It's very like such a nerdy thing to say, but like they are fun to do.
I love it.
Yeah, like once you really understand it, it's fun. But then like when you're first starting, it's like, what do I get myself into?
Yeah,
like, yeah. It was very overwhelming. Especially on top of the instructor situation I had, which I did switch over like about halfway through. But after that, like I enjoyed the end of it, like the cross countries, actually doing a flight and applying the ILS approaches that you learned back at home at Albany and doing it at Portsmouth. Is that what you call it? Yeah, doing it out there like in Maine and really like doing other approaches you're not used to and knowing how to do them. It was just great. It was fun.
Isn't it fun?
I enjoy it. It's awesome. Yeah, it's good.
So what's it? Yeah, so I mean, I agree. Like when you first started, it's like, oh my God, I cannot do this. Yeah. Like I'm not smart enough to do this. I just can't. It makes no sense. Yep. Everything is confusing.
Yep.
And then like now that you've got perspective, it's like I love it. Mm-hmm. Like it's just cool, and it's a whole different world than VFR. Like IFR and VFR, different worlds of aviation.
Completely, yeah.
You know,
100%.
So what's it like actually being in the clouds? What was your experience first time?
My first time
punching in.
So the first time, so in training flights, I had kind of skimmed a layer, but my instructor was like, "Oh, make sure." Like I was under the hood, so he was like, "All right, descend a little bit. We're kind of getting into clouds." First time was on the instrument cross country that I went to 9.5, so it was kind of a bunch of firsts in one flight. Basically, it was my new instructor in instrument. He was like, "Yeah, today we're gonna get through some layers, so we might get some good IMC time." And I was so excited because like I've never been in the clouds, and it was one of those days where it's probably overcast 3. The layer was like 2,000 feet, so it went up to about 5. And I remember like I had the hood on. And he's like, "Oh, you can take it off because we're in the clouds." So I didn't really see us punch, but I look out and there is nothing, man. I'm telling you, like the color of these shades, like it's like very dark. When you're in the middle of it, the sun doesn't peek through it all at first. So it's really like you get disoriented very quick. I remember like even on the hood, you have some sort of reference to the ground. You always do.
Yeah.
But there's like nothing. So I remember like he was like, "Oh, make sure on that course." I was starting to drift a little bit. It was so cool. And then as we got toward the top, like start to get brighter and brighter and brighter, of course, like 1,000 feet, and then you just pop out of nowhere, and it is the most beautiful thing ever. Like I could do it all day. You pop out, blue sky everywhere, white clouds everywhere. It's like you're floating on top. It's awesome.
So crazy.
It's so much fun. Yeah, it's ridiculously cool.
I mean, and like that's kind of like a religious experience, you know?
Yeah.
Because the as you were describing that, it's like that's kind of what like death is like. You going towards the light.
It's what it feels like. It's like,
and then you're in heaven.
Yeah, like it gets really bright, like almost where you're squinting, and then it's like boom, it's blue, like out of nowhere, and then like you kind of, it's like I can't even. It's so hard to explain. You have to like when you're there and you look out, like it's just so pretty. It's just like white puffy clouds all around you, and then like blue sky with nothing else. It's like, it's awesome. It's cool.
Dude, I'm so jealous. So I'm gonna be starting fixed wing training pretty soon. So I'll have to call you up and ask about it. Now, talk to me about this instructor. Why was your private instructor pretty good, or the couple that you went
private? One of my favorite, if not my favorite, flight instructor I've ever had. Just very he was our age. So it's one of those things where you can relate pretty well. You know how it is. Like when you have somebody who's close to your age, you can relate, and it's very easy to teach people like that. So for me, that was my I had a great private instructor. Instrument, just not I would say just not courteous overall. Very like I not really wanting to be there. Just attitudes that you would never want. Very intimidating attitudes that kind of make you like want to run and hide. Like I've definitely, we talked about this at the airport 1,000 times, but I remember like getting out of bed, like I had a flight at 10 and I would stay in my bed till like 9:30. And I was like, I do not want to get out of bed. I do not want to go to this lesson because I knew like I'm going to go there. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to get screamed at for not know. I'm in stage 2. I'm just learning approaches and I'm getting screamed at because I'm not in the localizer. It's like, it's very like, I mean, it's just like, it's demotivating. Like you don't want to be there all. If I didn't love it, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I probably would have ran like I know a lot of other people did with him. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, that's pretty much the extent of it.
Dude, that's so insane. Yeah. Because that's, I mean, I don't want to blame blames, but
no,
it's like as an employer, you would not want to put your students through that. So why keep someone on staff? But we won't say names. Dude, that's so. I had an experience with an instructor that was not great, but I was never yelled at. Just made to feel like a freaking moron. I just felt like he just made me feel so stupid. Like with everyone. But he actually yelled at you.
Yelled, same thing. It makes you feel like you're like you should know it, even though you have no clue.
Like there's no reason for you to know it.
Like I was learning DME arcs.
Yeah.
And just the way I was taught was very like. He made it seem like, oh, it's the easiest thing in the world, like which they are, but like if you don't know what you're talking about, it's nothing's easy.
It's like Chinese.
Yeah. So like he's like, oh, we're arcing to the south, and I'm like, what can I go left or right? And he's like, you just do what I tell you. And then if you don't, like, it's just it was chaotic, very like I almost like just want to let go of the controls and like just fly back. There was actually one flight. It was one of my last flights with him. He was seeing if I was ready for stage 1, and I didn't hear him properly at where to go left or right for the DME arc, which way to go. And I don't know which way I went. I went the wrong way. He was like, turn us back around. We're going back. You're not even close to ready. And I was like, it was one of those things where it was very obvious that like there was issues, didn't want to be there, didn't care to try and help. And it's just like, it's everything, especially like starting my CFI training, going through and reading the FOI. Like I remember reading them like, how can you do the exact opposite of everything that's in these books? Like how, like, it says like praise the student when needed, like provide adequate instruction, like all the responsibilities you have. And then you're going to like, just like scream over the dumbest things. I mean, yeah, we're not gonna say names. He would vape in the cockpit, like in the aircraft. Yeah, smoking right next to me. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I never understood that. I'm like, this is a C of double I vaping in a plane. We're on the runway. He's like, don't apply full power yet. And he would just take a hit. He's like, all right, now I'm ready. Are you kidding me? Like my roommate had him for a couple check rides, and I remember he came back and he's like, yeah, he told me that he couldn't start till he has coffee. So like he would chug a coffee and be like, now I'm ready. Like it was very,
dude.
Yeah.
So was he like building time to go into the airlines or something? Or was he
used to be in the airlines, went back to instructing. He's no longer at Richmond now. I think he's doing like some other gig on the side or something like that. But
I wonder why he went from the airlines back to instructing.
I have no clue. Yeah, I'm not really involved in that. But
dude, what a terrible dude.
Yeah. But honestly, like when I got my new instructor, for the end of it. Just like I actually like I forgot what a good instructor was like, because private was great. But after so many months of not doing that, you kind of forget like what a good instructor really is about. It was all like the first flight. I was like, wow, like I'm not getting yelled at. Like this is awesome. Like it's all, yeah, it's just it is so silly, but it really like the little things add up, and you obviously can relate to a bunch of it.
Dude,
Yeah.
my instructor. So this is where I'm kind of conflicted now that I've got so much time of dual given actually being an instructor. But my instructor he was an asshole, but like, so it was like my second flight ever at Mauna Loa where I went to school.
Yep.
And he in the ground the day before, he's like, okay, go home and memorize these downwind checks. So on your downwind, you're supposed to run through these checks to like check all that your lights are out, that your tachometers match, that all of your gauges are in the green. We've got enough fuel. Our spot is clear. We've made our landing clearance. Where's other traffic? These set of things you're supposed to do on the downwind prior to landing. So he told me that, but he had also assigned me a bunch of other homework. So I went home and I did like studying, but I didn't, for some reason I skipped, or I just didn't remember to learn the downwind checks.
Yep.
So we walk out to the aircraft, like I had pre-flighted. He walks out and checks, and he's like, all right, you ready to go? And I'm like, yep. So I hop in, and then he's like getting ready and to hop in on the other seat. And he's like, all right, what are your downwind checks? And I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I wrote them down, but I don't know. And he's like, okay, pack up your shit. We're done. We're not flying. And I was like, I was crushed, devastated.
Dude,
You know, it's like, I'm so excited to fly. I'm overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know how the helicopter works, let alone try to fly. And like, I get it, because what did I do? I went and fucking learned my downwind checks.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
It worked.
You learn to be like, I'm learning this. There's nothing that's gonna stop me. Yeah. It actually it's good for you in a way.
It's
like,
good.
Yeah.
It's good in a way, but it's like, I guess it's like parenting, you know, in some sense.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
It is low key.
It is kind of like parenting. But
same thing happened. That literally like gives me goosebumps, because the same thing happened. Like, yeah, obviously you check NOTAMs before you do approach, just to make sure the approach is good.
Right.
And he's like, and I had issues with not writing down approach NOTAMs in the past. And he like, I went out to the ramp to pre-flight. He finished with another student. He's walking in. He's like, you check your NOTAMs? And I was like, I'm gonna go check them inside right after I finish the pre-flight. And he's like, oh, good, you better, otherwise we're not flying. And I was like, it just it's something about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You just know that it's just, you know, and now that we'll get to it right now, but as we're like getting ready to be, you're getting ready to be an instructor, and I'm an instructor. It's like, you learn about these FOIs, fundamentals of instruction. How do you, and what the FOIs are, you can add to this, but they're like how to be a good teacher and how to teach and how students learn.
Yep.
So you learn both things.
Yep.
How do they pick up stuff, and how do you deliver that and package it? Because you've got the sender, the message, and the receiver. And how do you, as the sender, deliver the message in a way that the student can receive it?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, yelling and being an asshole makes it really hard for the receiver to understand the package.
I never understood. And
you know,
that's what I mean. Like, I thought about that when, like, it literally says, do not yell, cuss, be unprofessional toward that, because they're just going to mimic you. It's like, no, I just didn't want to be around you at all. Like, it does, especially with kids who aren't, maybe like they're not even sure if this is what they want. Like, that's the easiest way to just kick them out and be like, see you later, scare them away.
Yeah. And like, as aviators, we love being in the sky. We love aviation.
Exactly.
And we want to be good stewards of it, you know, like, be like, yes, this is look at how great this can be.
Yep.
And imagine when you get into an aircraft with like someone that's excited.
Yep.
Like, I love intro flights, like bringing someone in and like the helicopter can do this, and look at how cool this is. And like, we're 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, being a good steward of what we do is really important. So with that, this, you're telling me before we came in here this week, you've got your CFI checkride.
Yeah.
Dude,
we'll keep the exact day on the low. I know that, I think I watched an episode, you were like, I don't tell people when my check cards are.
Absolutely.
So I'm very similar. Only the closest people around me know when my stuff is. But yeah, it's coming up shortly.
So you've got a check ride coming up. Talk to me about the preparation getting to your CFI check ride and what your thoughts are right now about it.
So I finished my September 10th last year in 2021 was the when I finished commercial. I pretty much immediately after instrument, I took a break in between commercial to kind of let myself like kind of breathe a little bit. I was very eager to get started with the CFI, and my school, Mauna Loa provided CFI training, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Richmore doesn't really have a 141 for CFIs or CFII. So it's one of those things where like, all right, now I got to find somebody who will provide the training because I know it's what I want to do.
Do they have a 61?
61.
Okay.
Yes. So, but it's not advertised. So I knew the chief at Richmore very well. And I called him and I discussed that I was interested in becoming an instructor for Richmore. I talked to a bunch of other people in the area as well, but I ended up doing it with him. Great guy, tons of experience. He has a military background as well. Went through it with him. Basically, it's one of those things. I don't know how they structure it in Mauna Loa, but the first day, he's like, all right, show up. You're going to be teaching me turns around a point, and we're going to get you checked out on the right seat, make sure you can make that transition. I know it's the opposite for helicopters.
Yeah,
but you
exactly.
make the transition. Obviously, your right hand's on the yoke now, left's on the throttle, so you get used to that for a couple of flights. But every flight, we're teaching a new maneuver each time. I probably sucked at teaching the first couple of times. I remember I had like a red face, like I'm teaching the chief of the flight school. Like I know he knows what I'm talking about, so I got to sound as professional as I can. But you get used to it, and you basically, he's making you like get used to teaching throughout the entire time. I finished. He saw me out for the check ride. Somewhere I want to say the beginning of January is when he expected to be, or he expected to be at the end of January. Never had a DPE actually in the area that was capable of doing those check rides.
And that's a pilot examiner.
Yeah, DP, yeah, pilot examiner. For the CFI, which is obviously it's a higher level of examining authority. So basically, I was kind of left at a standstill, almost staying proficient without a end goal in sight, which kind of sucked because I'm very like everybody's motivated when they have a goal in sight or when they know it's coming. So I had to basically stay proficient, keep soloing, keep my ground knowledge up with really no idea when a check ride could be. It could be any time. And luckily, we found one. He's out in Rome. And then we got a date on the board about, I would say, a month ago. And it's come up shortly. So the press has been good.
That's really interesting why it's so hard for you guys to find pilot examiners. I feel like fixed wing pilot examiners are around, they're abundant. Is that not how it is?
So they are. It's just I don't know what it is. So the one I've had for my private, I had the same DP for my private instrument commercial. He has an office at Richmore. He's well known and a great guy. He's done so much for me. I appreciate everything he's ever done. But he doesn't have, I guess, I don't want to say it's a rating, the capability to do the CFI check rides. You have to go through like a panel and get approved to do that type of check ride. I get it because obviously you're certifying people to go teach other people how to fly. So I get it. But there just wasn't a lot of those in the area. So we kind of had to reach out and expand out like to a wider range of area to see if we could find one. And we haven't find one that's out in the Utica Rome area. So I'm just gonna end up flying out there and taking it there. So
yeah. So actually going through CFI training, what did you find it difficult?
I'd say the biggest learning curve was like same thing. And then a commercial, you're like, oh, now I'm a commercial pilot. Like I know so much more. But at the end of the day, it's like now you have to not only be more fine-tuned with the knowledge you have, but teach it to others. Which that's like, I mean, it's that's a whole nother skill on itself, being able to communicate, adjust your teaching styles to different kids, and really just being able to relay that forward and teaching somebody else how to fly, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be hard at first. I mean, I'm sure that you learn throughout the whole time you're instructing. But yeah, I would say teaching and really learning how to kind of pass that knowledge on to other people has been the hardest part.
So one of the things that I took away from it is, so actually studying for CFI, it's really important because you learn a lot, like the ground lessons that you've developed, the flight lessons, how to actually talk and explain things. So that's hard. But then what was really interesting for me was the different people I'm teaching. So I think Richmore is a little bit different than how independent works, but at independent, I would have the 30-year-old single mother and then the 70-year-old student. And then I've got the 16-year-old kid who's really eager. Yeah. And then I've got the college age student. And then I've got like an engineer who's 45. And then I've got someone that's terrified of heights. So you've got all these different genders, different ages. Like from one flight, I would go from like a 70-year-old man to like a 21-year-old college female.
Big range.
And it's a very different background, very different talking styles. Like how I talk with you, I'm like, "What's up, bro? Like we're gonna go like just." I just decided to go ahead and pick it up, real light on it. But then like with someone that's older, I have to be I have to change my demeanor
Yep.
because, and how do they perceive me and how do they respect me and what words can I say to them that they're going to understand?
Yep.
So the actual demographics of teaching is really, it's really interesting and it's really hard
Yep.
to get different people to pick up the same piece of information. And like, if I tell you, okay, we're going to make an approach. So eyes outside, there's your angle. Go ahead and start to lower the collective, aft cyclic. Even though it makes sense, like the technicalities of how you're supposed to do an approach. Same for you, like flaps 10, flaps 20, flaps 30. It all makes sense. But like one person may not pick that up in one ear, out the other. Then someone else is just going to get it instantly. And like, how do you teach the same thing to 4 different people?
Yep.
And it's like, that's what being a flight instructor is. It's hard.
It's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
It's a great skill to have.
Really good. Yeah, exactly. And being a flight instructor, I think is super valuable. So talk to me a little bit about the industry. So if you get your CFI, what's your plan and where do you want to go?
So I pretty much right now, I'm very certain I'll be instructing at Richmore for at least, I mean, however long it takes to get my hours. Once I get to 1500, I honestly, I can't predict. My goal is to just build up the time and fly for NetJets. I want to fly corporate, obviously from the airport. I got to see the ins and outs of what they get to do. They fly to all sorts of airports, small, large. So you get like a vast majority of different experiences flying with like corporate companies like that.
Can
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good.
But so you need 1500 PIC or total?
It's total time. So 1500 hours. That's like the magic number for airplanes.
Okay.
Is it similar for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a similar number.
So yeah, so you got to get that time, and then that's like the time where, I mean, I'm sure now that with the pilot shortage and everything, some companies are being more lenient with that. But that's typically the number you aim for before you go off to a different company.
Now, can you do that all hypothetically in like a 152? Or do they want like multi-engine or
so yeah,
turbine?
There's the thing. So I was right after my CFI, I want to get my multi. Probably over the summer, I'm going to go out for a weekend course or whatever and get it done. A lot of companies, especially NetJets, has actually pretty high standards for getting hired. They want a good amount of multi time. They want to, obviously they want the high amount of overall total time, the cross country time, PSC. I forget their exact numbers. I couldn't quote it, but yeah, the standards are pretty high, which is why I'm going to have to find some sort of gig with a multi and gain time doing that way. I'm actually lucky enough to know my mom works with somebody who her husband works for NetJets. And I met with him one time, I believe, I was trying to get my foot in the door, see what it's like. Still wasn't even a private pilot yet, but I kind of took away what he said and what the company's like we talked about earlier, how you work, like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, depending on how much you're home. I liked their pilots are great. I met them at Saratoga. Very, very nice, cordial. They love their job. And like, you always want to be surrounded by people who enjoy what they do. So that was like a big eye-opening thing for me.
Is NetJets a stepping stone to the airlines, or do some people just chill there and that's their goal?
Funny enough, so with private charter increasing, some of the airline pilots that were in the airlines flying the buses are now flying limos. So now they want to go.
Is that what they call it?
Limos, yeah.
Buses versus limos?
Yeah, buses versus limos. They went to the airlines, and like I talked to so many of them, and a lot of them have very similar things to say. They're like, you're getting paid just as much now, if not more, doing corporate than you were at the airlines. You get a better living quality, at least for some of them. And I like that really was eye opening because you get to fly. I mean, they're not the largest aircraft, but they're pretty cool. Like they have some pretty awesome capabilities, and they look really cool. I'm not going to say no because I don't know. You don't know what opportunity is going to come up. My goal would be to fly for NetJets and kind of work up an aircraft size over time to maybe a larger one. Like the Challengers, the Globals are cool. The Gulfstreams, that would be awesome.
So you need 1500 PIC, the cross country time, but they want you to have multi as well.
Multi, yeah.
So could you get your multi-engine instructor and teach that way?
I don't know what I actually honestly don't really have. I'm gonna get my multi and kind of just put my foot in the door in different places. See what the opportunities are out there. I'm just gonna instruct, build time in the meantime. That's kind of be the main hustle, obviously. Just building the time, and if I can maybe find like maybe a side gig flying a King Air or something just to build that time on the side. Maybe doing a trip every once in a while, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I would say at least 2 years of instructing.
Yeah.
before I'll be there. So I mean, I really can't predict what will come up, but that's kind of the idea of what I want to do.
So with helicopters, this also kind of confused me. Very similar minimums. So 500 hours opens up some doors,
Yep.
1,000 opens up more, 15 opens up a lot, and 2,000 opens up pretty much everything.
Mhm.
So, but the thing is, I've always thought like, how can airplane stuff and helicopter stuff have the same minimums, but you guys build time so much more rapidly? I feel like because our flights are an hour or less usually training
Yeah.
flights. But how long are your training flights?
So it depends on what you're doing. So like typically, if I want to practice maneuvers, it'll be an hour.
Okay.
But I don't know how far you go from the airport to do maneuvers. Is most of it on airport?
Oh yeah,
So
everything.
So I'm gonna say I mean, you definitely get a lot done. But let's just say like for mine, like you depart from Schenectady, you can get almost, I mean, you can get to Fulton County, do all your maneuvers on the way, do 4 or 5 laps in the pattern there, and come back, and may not be an hour. So you can go a further distance and get a lot more done, which I think is why you build the time so much faster in airplanes, especially with the cross countries, because I know what counts as a cross country and helicopter for distance is not the same.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't it like 25?
It's 25 for us.
So it's 50 for us. So
Okay.
that's another reason why I think it's going to be a longer flight.
Yeah.
Because
Because well, but are CFIs limited to those 8 hours?
a day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all CFIs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All CFIs. Yeah.
You're right. So what was the scariest thing that's ever happened to you in an airplane?
Scariest thing that's ever happened.
Has there ever been a moment where it's like, oh, that almost went bad?
Not almost went bad, like not close to crash or anything.
Yeah.
I would say it's so funny. The same instrument cross country, that 9.5 punch in the clouds. We flew to Portsmouth. It was really windy that day. Took off like gusting 20, which wasn't too bad, but in Maine it was upper 30s. So we landed in like, I would say it was like 15 gusting 35, 36.
Whoa.
Which is, I was still an instrument pilot. So it was one of those things where I was on my toes. I haven't really been anything like that. We were getting thrown around on landing and all that. Ballooned like crazy because it hit a gust, get flown up in the air. That was fine. It was taking off. I've never been in wind shear anything worse. We were like head hit the ceiling 4 or 5 times. Airspeed plus or minus 15, 20 knots in a 172. Like we took off. He's like, hold that nose down because we want to get the airspeed. We took off at like 90, which is typically, that's like 30 knots over what we normally take off. And I was like holding that nose down because it wanted to fly with that wind. As soon as I let go, it just flew into the air. I mean, airspeed needle was like going up and down, up and down. And I was like, it was scary for me because I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on right now. I've never been in a situation like this, but that's like if I had to say like the scariest thing, that's probably it.
No, that makes sense. So on a takeoff or a landing, if it's really windy, and there's wind shear, is it higher airspeed?
It depends on where it hits you. So like if you get like a hit from a headwind, then yeah, it'll bump up 10, 15 knots.
But do you want to keep a higher airspeed?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause what if like you say it shears to a tailwind and now you lose 15 knots? If you're at 60, well, now you could be close to stalling.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous. So that's why he was like, keep that nose down, rotated like 85, 90 knots. And as soon as, we flew into the air because that thing was like, wanted to fly so bad. 2,000
foot per minute climb rate.
Yeah, that was definitely very sketchy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What was do you have a moment or an experience in the airplane where it's like just like a euphoric, oh my god, this is the best thing ever moment, where it was like everything in life made sense?
I would say the last thing I did on my commercial check ride. That for me was like I worked all summer for that. Like I would literally bring stuff. You've probably seen. I would bring flashcards and sit on the fuel truck and fill up the tanks and just go through flashcards. Being able to, and I was on prep for a powerlifting meet at the time too. So being able to do that, work as much as I did and complete it, kind of all added up to it. So it was. Have you ever heard of the power off 180?
Yeah, power off 180.
Okay. Do you have the similar maneuver?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we do.
So it's the same thing. Got to hit your point plus or minus 200 feet. And that's like for the commercial check ride, at least for airplanes, that's like the make it, break it. Like if you don't hit the point, or at least if you don't go around, if you know you're gonna be short, that's it.
Yeah.
So it was the last thing we did. It was actually really windy the day we did. We went to Albany, and he was like, it's up to you. The winds are gusting like 26. So if you want to do the length another day, I'm totally fine with that. And I was like, yeah, let's plan on doing that. And then we took off, went in the practice area like near Sacandaga, and did all maneuvers, and then came back in. Schenectady like died down to like 14 knots. And I was still under the impression that we were going to move the flight to another day. And my examiner was like, Um, let me see a soft field take landing. I was like, okay. Just didn't say anything. Did it, went around. All right, let me see a short field landing. And we did it, hit the point I needed to, went around. I knew it was the last thing was coming. Like, all right, power off 180, show me. And then I remember coming around and it was really, really windy aloft.
So do you set up in like a downwind for a runway?
Downwind. So he wanted 1,000 footers as
Okay.
the point.
Yeah.
So you cut everything and configure establish glide once you're a beam the thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I configured and he's like, show me the power off. And I knew I was like, if I do this, that's it. Like I passed. And I remember it was very windy aloft and I immediately turned in. I didn't use any flaps at all. And I just barely made the point where like it was iffy if I was going to make it. And I held it off as best as I could. And I hit the 1,000 and I was like, I knew I passed, but I didn't, I was trying so hard not to say anything. And he's like, all right, that'll do. And then we got back. And then he looked at me, shook my hand. He's like, congratulations. That was like that. I can't even, you know it is. That was great.
Yeah.
Best moment I think I've had in flying so far.
Yeah. Like right when you pass a check ride, I remember my instructor looked at me. He's like, congratulations, you're the newest helicopter pilot in the world.
It's awesome.
And it was like, just like, I can feel it right now. Just like this, this waterfall of like,
yeah.
It's like, it's euphoric.
Hey, because you think about how much hours, like it's on, even like forget flight hours and like show up to the airport, like all the stuff you have to put in outside of that, like it's countless amount of hours. And like when you're finally like, he's like, yeah, like you're done basically. Like that's it. You got what you wanted. It's on it. Can't replace that.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
There's not a better feeling in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Oh, dude, I love passing check rides. Like
it's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best. Yeah.
I hope you get that feeling in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. What was your favorite check ride that you passed?
My favorite check ride that I passed.
Best feeling. One, I should
say. Private was cool because it was like, I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
But I knew, I love this example, but like I knew the mountain was steep. Like I'm right here and I just climb this little hill and it's like, yeah. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like you look at the top and it's like, I knew I was so much scope, but private was cool. Right. Instrument was cool. See if double I was cool too. I thought instrument stuff was actually pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Commercial was super easy because commercial's like private, but just a little bit more.
Blown off private is what people say. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Definitely the hardest was CFI.
Agreed.
Hardest, super long ground, like 3 or 4 hour ground, 1.8 flight, and you're just so mentally exhausted. There's so much stuff. But I failed my CFI check ride.
The CFI initial?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I failed my initial CFI on engine failures. I won't get into it, but I mean, it just, I failed it, but like it kind of made sense why I failed it.
Yeah.
And then I went back. But actually failing that check ride was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
Here, I'll tell it real quick. Yeah. So we practice engine failures, and what we do is like, we'll set up 70 knots, straight and level, and then in our left hand with the collective, that's where our throttle is. So we'll go engine failure in 3, 2, 1, drop the throttle, lower the collective, right pedal. So this was my CFI check ride. So he was going to be the student, practicing student, and I was going to be the instructor. So we set it up, we practice it, and then he does it and he like messes it up. Like he's like the student that's messing it up. So he messes it up and then I take control. So I'm like, I have controls. I get us configured in. I'm like, yeah, I did it. Like, that's it. Like I got us in the glide. I fixed it. I did everything I was supposed to do. So, and then he looks at me and he's like, all right, Devin, what did I mess up? Like give me as the student a critique, because one of the biggest things about being an instructor is giving a good, effective critique. Yeah. So I was like, all right, so you entered fine. Your eyes were outside. That was good. But then you locked up on the throttle and you nose dove and you did this wrong, but here's what you could have done better. And he's like, what else? And I was like, I don't know. And then he's like, no, Devin, tell me what else I messed up. And I was like, I don't know. Can you give me a second? So then like I made a radio call and it felt like an eternity waiting. Yeah. And then he's like, Devin, tell me what else I messed up. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to discontinue the check ride at this point and come back. And I was like, fuck. So we get down on the ground. I went through and did the rest of the maneuvers. And he's like, so what I messed up was I was super far out of trim. So the nose is supposed to stay straight, but he was like, he kicked it out of trim.
So not coordinated.
Yeah, exactly. So like the ball wasn't in the center. So he was out of trim, and for some reason I didn't see it, or I wasn't able to verbalize it to him. And like that's important because I missed like one of the biggest things. Like you have to keep the nose pointed into the wind.
Yeah.
And then I was like crushed. I was like, that's such a stupid thing. Like why did I fail on that? And why didn't I tell him that? But then like I thought about it. It's like, how am I going to be a good instructor when I can't even like pick out these obvious things? And it was like, oh shit, he's kind of right. Like he probably could have passed me and it would have been fine, but it's like he made it super clear, like you have to be able to like pick out these things and notice it and give an effective critique. So I learned way more from failing it.
I bet now looking at students and watching them do that kind of stuff, I bet you're always looking at that.
Yeah.
That's on your mind. Yeah.
Like all the failing a check ride for like a good, like that was like a really justifiable reason. I don't remember what your question was, but that's my answer to it.
Yeah. That answered it.
The other thing that you talked about, just like passing a check ride, that's really euphoric and really nice. The other thing that's really nice is like on a July afternoon, 8:00, 8:30, the sun setting, and you're just out of the airport.
Yeah.
Being at an airport on like a July evening, that's heaven, you know?
It does. I remember even working, like I was happy to be there feeling planes. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. Like, it's just an open space. Barely any people around except like the people that love it the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's like you don't find that there's not a lot of places where it's like only it's secluded to those people.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a good environment.
It's warm and you know those sound of those, not like crickets, but like those like that buzz.
Yeah, the buzz.
The buzz in the air, and like it's just warm and you have to like slap a mosquito out of your face.
Yeah.
It's like this is heaven.
Yeah.
And bro, I really appreciate spending the last summer with you.
It's been great.
It was
awesome.
Such a good time.
That was great.
Hanging out at an airport. How old are you?
20. I turned 21 on May 5th. So yeah.
Oh, you got a birthday coming up. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank
you. And it's fun being like a new young generation of pilots, you know?
Oh yeah.
And having instructors that are our own age is cool too. Like not that there's anything wrong, but if you learn from someone your own age, you can just communicate at a different level.
Absolutely.
Which is fun. Brennan, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
dude.
thank you, man. It's been an honor. It's been great to come on.
It was awesome. I wish you luck with your check ride, and I wish you luck down the road.
Thank you, man. Yeah, you too with that new job opportunity.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Take care.
Yep.